Are
Hey,
we live?
yeah, it looks like it. We are live. Hey, it's me and Scott, as usual, on Wednesday, about 7 o'clock. We're both just going to draw and talk.
It's the day thing that we do. Oh, hang on. I'm watching this on my iPad
Okay,
so I
sorry.
can see if anyone says anything or chats us or whatever.
Okay, very good.
I'll share the Facebook page so that people can join us or watch us if they'd like. Anyway, how's everything going, Ellis?
Hey, pretty good. Our friend, I think, I think Barry is pretty excited about the James Bond thing. I
Oh,
would,
yeah.
now, I don't know. I don't know if someone could misconstrue this, but to me, a Bond girl looks a certain way. And, I didn't mind, what's her name, Nat King Cole's daughter at all. I mean, she's a good looking woman and everything. But I don't know what they're going to do with this other, uh, I guess she's like the new 007 or something. I
Oh,
think, I
really?
think they're replacing her number, and she's like, you know, she could step into an MMA cage.
Oh, really?
And yeah, she's really
Yeah, I
stout
haven't.
and thick and everything like that. And I just wonder if it's like just totally conceding that there is some sort of like you know weird relativity about what beauty is, and
Well, we live in. I mean, and I've never seen this woman before. Now, is this the woman you're talking about?
let's see, I don't know. Oh, maybe I don't know. Is I can't tell. I should make
Cozy,
something full screen, I guess. But anyway,
cozy.
right there, that could be extremely, make people really mad and all that. But, I mean, I see beauty, and beauty, I guess, is subjective, but it's, there's certain things where there's certain starting points. I figure that, regularity of features and all that sort of thing, that
Well,
we can all agree on.
we do live in kind of a time where people seem to revel in ugliness for whatever reason. You
She's
know.
not. You couldn't say she's
Well,
ugly,
and
but she's basically too masculine. So,
yeah, we revel in that too.
I guess she's supposed to be tough. She's supposed to be a double agent
Oh
or
well,
a license to kill
well.
agent.
We'll see.
So
I had to
anyway,
laugh. I
and
had to
and
laugh.
she did I mention she's black?
No, but I showed the picture.
Oh, okay.
I had to laugh because Barry was very enthusiastic, and he posted that Barry's a friend of ours that we do movie reviews with, and he posted a picture of Daniel Craig in cargo pants, and so I wanted to say, "Oh, the new Bond's wearing cargo pants, excellent," which I thought was pretty funny, but I didn't because he was very
Yeah, I
enthusiastic.
saw some comments that said, Craig's too old for it, but well, he may be. That may be why he wants to move on, and he's no doubt super tired of it. I mean, the guy's a good actor. He's gotten all of it out of it he wants, I'm sure,
Uh,
by now.
um,
Not necessarily all the money he wants, but he's tired
well,
of the process, I'm sure.
then it wouldn't be a fun thing to do. I mean, there are some movies that would be fun to shoot, but I don't think a James Bond movie would
No,
be.
it's just just too complicated top to bottom.
Exactly, and too much expectation. I think.
Hmm.
Are you? What are you doing wrong? Or that sort
Yeah,
of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
It
It's
would.
like the thankless task of doing these Star Wars.
Oh
You know,
god.
these guys that are going off before they even get close to this movie based on a snippet of a trailer. I don't
Yeah.
have any of this pathology. I tell you, all I see is something that's like that I see money on screen when I look at it. I say, yeah, that looks like a movie that I will have to see eventually because they
Yeah.
spent so much money on it, and
Yeah. I have
it will be fantastic looking. You know,
to see that they account for every dime
yeah,
in that film. Well, my problem with the Star Wars stuff, it hadn't changed in years. I like the first Star Wars movie, and that's about it. You
yeah. I
know,
mean, yeah. 1 through 2.
it, it's
That's
a
it.
it's a pretty thing. I mean, and this is gonna not make many fans, but I mean, I like the original trilogy, but I saw them as they were coming out,
Yeah,
and so I was 10 when the first movie came out, and I loved it.
yeah.
Then I was like 13 when the second movie came out, and I was pretty cool with it. But I was 16 or so when the fourth one or the third one came out, and I couldn't care less at that point.
Yeah,
When I was 16, I didn't care about Star Wars.
they really left you behind.
Well, I left them behind or something.
Yeah,
It just didn't interest me, and I still think, and everybody says that Empire Strikes Back is the best one. I disagree with that. I think the first one's the best one. I was
yeah,
the perfect to see it. I was the target audience. It was something that I wanted to see because I was into Flash Gordon and all that cheesy science fiction stuff, and so and that's what Lucas drew on, was
right.
Flash Gordon. And so I was that was mine. Well, they moved. I don't care about, and I never got into any of the extra stuff that they come out with over the years. I read the original Split of the Mind's Eye, and I read the Han Solo novels, and that was about it. I didn't care for any of that other crap. I,
Well,
think,
I mean, the the idea of what's his name that directed the first one.
Lucas.
Yeah, Lucas. I mean, he was a guy I really enjoyed his stuff. I I loved American Graffiti.
Yeah,
It was like one of the most, it was charisma right there on screen. It was just great top to bottom, I thought. And very few movies are like that. And
yeah,
it was something that it showed that he could put the only thing that matters for a filmmaker to be able to do well is to make an impact,
yeah,
an emotional impact. And he had that talent, he had that ability.
yeah,
And for him to like squander it all eventually on just coming at this franchise from all sorts of angles of like farming it out and all that.
yeah,
And when he was the guy that there's just no denying how good he was if he felt it, I guess. Because I really liked his student film too, his THX 1138, which was just an elaborate student film, which I guess Coppola underwrote that for him. He's the
yeah. I
reason
don't.
that managed to make it to out there.
Yeah, well, it was reshot or whatever, but
Hmm.
the uh, yeah, it's funny. At one point, me and another guy were looking at Lucas's credits, and it's pretty thin outside
Pretty
of Star Wars.
thin, yeah. It shouldn't be.
No, it shouldn't be. He should have but he's like the Ninja Turtle guys though. Eastman and Laird. They just got trapped by their own success.
Yeah, I guess that's probably true. It's like you can try to get away with telling the fans you don't want to see that, you want to see this, and the fans would no doubt just you know go nuts
Well,
on you. I mean, we know that. I mean, from looking at fandom nowadays, it's like there's a lot of psychopaths in fandom.
yeah,
So
yeah,
what can you
that
do?
that is for sure. Well, but I did like the original trilogy. But like I said, I'm not trying to be a snob or whatever, but I grew out of it pretty quick. I was just like, okay. You
And
know.
it's an amazing, here I am not particularly engaged one way or the other in the idea of it making its appearance again, and yet I'm engaged in the what has to be called the hype machine of it all. Here we are
Oh yeah,
talking about it, you know.
yeah. Well, it's just so out there. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It, we live in strange times because when I was a kid, uh, if you'd have told me, oh, when you're older, you'll be some of the stuff that you know, like reading comics and that sort of thing, I would have been like, I don't, no, I won't. You know, In fact, what's funny is when I was 16, I wasn't interested in any of this stuff.
Yeah.
I barely drew. I wasn't interested in comics. I mean, all I really cared about was cars and girls for what it was worth. And
That's
somehow
what.
I got wrote back into that. Maybe because since I got married, I couldn't chase girls. But
Well, there you go.
because
It's like
I don't, a lot of people they wear that they refer to themselves as like nerds, and they wear it like a badge of honor, like, oh, I'm a nerd, and then but it's like it just seems like they're more interested in it because it fits a certain genre or category or whatever, you know.
well, there's a certain kind of nerd. These guys professing to be nerds that you can tell that they think they're just two steps removed from being, uh, you know, a matinee idol themselves.
Oh,
And
yeah,
it's like, okay, you think you're a nerd, or that you think that's your crowd, hey, but you don't really. You think you're uh,
you,
a breed
you,
apart. That please don't compare me to these idiots.
right? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I get you. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm working on my Hollywood mojo or whatever. You obviously don't think of yourself as a nerd.
Who, me?
No, no, no,
Or
no. I'm talking about I was using
oh,
some sort of
oh,
editorial about the people allegedly identifying as nerds that don't behave like they think
right.
they're actually nerds. They're more like Billy Mooney showing up at the Comic Con. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's like no, no. He's got a band. He's been a hip kid. He's had a Hollywood career.
I,
He knows where
you
the action is. Yeah, that's it. That's the main thing. I know, where
you
the
found
action is. I'm it.
speaking of that, I've been listening to the Motley Crue biography. Holy cow!
Oh, is that pretty? Oh, that's that movie Doc, right? The
They made a movie about it. It's called The Dirt.
the Dirt. That's right. I need to watch that. It's not like
Uh,
I'm just the biggest Motley Crue fan, but that would
oh no,
probably be very interesting.
I'm not at all, but I was curious. But man, what's funny is in the book they're talking about like when they came out with Shout at the Devil, and it wasn't a big cry, but there was people that were like, oh, these guys must be satanic, and people were like, no, 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 it's just an act or whatever. Apparently, they were really into it.
They really thought of themselves as Satanists, huh?
Oh, yeah, they. I mean, you get the impression that from listening to I'm listening to the audiobook, but you get the impression that these guys are really just a bunch of dumb stoner dudes that really were not that good of musicians, but they just happened to really kind of just give their all to it, and they got the right place,
Uh,
right time deal in a lot of ways. But uh, you know, I'm not a big fan of their
no, I'm not either.
it's
Um,
like Kiss. It's just dumb music, you know.
yeah,
But man, I tell you what, like I mean, I've read this in interviews with other musicians. They're like, Yeah, those guys, every stereotype you want to think about them being like crazy drug addicts is 100% true. You know, it's
I I wonder how the opioids are hitting the usual suspects on in the rock and roll world. I mean, it used to be that every drug came along was let me at it drugs, and that's not a really good idea with these opioids. It's beyond being on. It was kind of hip to be a heroin junkie. Kept the weight
yeah.
off anyway, and
Oh,
but it is the world's greatest appetite suppressor apparently.
they,
So but
yeah.
opioids, there's a little different tale to be told there. It's bad news.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I always had a suspicion that Russell, who was my brother, was literally trying to, just burn what was left of himself up for whatever reason. He just wanted to end it, but he didn't. He wasn't one of these guys that hangs himself or anything. He just goes along doing the worst things for himself.
Yeah.
And I think he was combining meth and a little bit of that. Is there another word for the opioid? What they call it? Well, I think the isn't it the same thing as basically can't think of it now. I've had them before when I was in the hospital. They're great,
Uh,
man. Jeez, the ultimate painkiller. Anyway, it's Rush
yeah.
Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh was addicted to them.
Oh, OxyContin.
Yes, that's it. OxyContin.
Yeah, Michelle, when she had a foot surgery, they prescribed her to him, and she took them. She took, I think she took one or maybe one day's worth, and she real quick was like, "I'm not taking any more of these."
Well, yeah,
And
getting used to that kind of stuff is it's not a good
yeah,
idea.
she was very and she had determined that she was only going to take painkillers as much as she needed, and she just took it that one like that first day out. But the what's crazy is, man, when we got those, it was like I went to the store or to the pharmacy and picked them up for her, and I mean, it was like we got I forget the number, but it was so many pills for like $3 or something like that. And I was talking to somebody that I knew that knows a little bit about drugs, street drugs, I should say, and they said, "Oh yeah, this is you could have sold those for like $10 a pill or something like
Oh
that on
yeah,
the
yeah,
street."
yeah.
And that's insane. But I mean, I get it. They shouldn't be cheaper to the consumer or more expensive to the consumer necessarily. But just that lure of golly, you make a
Yeah,
ton of
making money.
money.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is they don't seem to go after the doctors that overprescribe them. I don't get that. I guess they do some of them, but it just
Well,
seems like
supposedly they're trying to start doing that,
well they
but
need
I
to.
don't think they've really made any inroads on it.
Yeah, they need to. I'm trying to find the chat on here. I don't see the chat, Ellis.
Oh, you can't see the chat. Let me look.
Well, I'm just looking to see. I just want
I
to make
mean,
sure
I
there's
don't
not
think I've
anybody.
disabled anything. It's quite
Probably
possible.
just something on my end.
I don't see a chat either. Let's see. Let me see.
It says one person watching. That may be me.
Well,
Okay. Yeah.
I can see the it looks live next to the work area, so I think it's all right.
Okay. Anyway. Okay. So today you sent me a message about the Dick Blick thing. You still want that stuff, right?
Yeah, but I don't know. I looked at your message. It looked like to me you were telling me, well, you're going to have to wait for a delay, and was giving me the option if I wanted in or out on it. And so I wrote you, say, it don't matter. It can be.
That was. No. That was last Friday before I ordered it.
Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't reading my emails, huh?
Yeah. Well, no, you responded, and you said, "Oh yeah, that's fine," And then so the day I was like, "Oh wait a minute," I was surprised. It's okay. We're good.
Well, no, I mean, I ultimately said, no, that's fine. I wasn't trying to dodge paying the 20. It was just a matter of, I thought you were saying,
I hadn't ordered it yet.
Yeah, I didn't want to complicate your order, basically.
Oh, no. We're good. We're good. Okay. Monday I got jury duty.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah, it's been making my coworkers crazy.
I don't know what to do without you.
Well, I have a guy that's, well, it's worse than that because I'm gone, and then one of the other guys is on vacation that week, so we'll only have one artist, man.
Well, yeah, that may be what they reduce personnel to if it's clear to them that they're doing just fine. I'm kidding.
Don't say that.
Yeah.
Oh God. No, we're about as thin as we can be and keep up with what they expect. Now if they're willing to, man, I work. I have a work log, right, or like a log of what's due and everything, and it's organized by date, of course, by due date, and so I do this stuff. And, I'm responsible for. I'm in charge of the department, so I got to make sure everything gets done and all this stuff, and I dole out the work to the other artists. So like I'll have stuff on my log that's due like the next day, but because of the way that they write up the orders, there'll be stuff that's not due for a month, but it's actually needs to be done sooner than the stuff that's due that day because the way because the production methods. And so it's a lot of stress on me trying to keep all that straight, because there's an order on my log that no one's touched in about a week, and it really needs to be done because the final it all depends on when the final product is due. But someone told me today that one of the guys at my work, not in my department, thankfully, one of the guys at my work is quitting to go to Amazon because they're making $15 an hour. And,
well, I bet he regrets that. $15 an hour
going to Amazon
really isn't that much, and they'll work him to death.
Yeah, that is kind of my thought. I mean, he was talking to somebody, and it was like, oh, you got to do this and that. Like at my work, if you have your cell phone, it's not that big a deal. Like at Amazon, he told somebody, one of my other workers, that you had a locker and you had to put everything in your locker. You couldn't go to your locker. You couldn't leave your station, like to go to the bathroom, until somebody came to relieve you. My work is not like that at all. So he may regret that. But I think he I don't know what he makes, but I think he makes less than $15 an hour. So he don't work at my department. But and he's at my work. I hate to use the word unskilled, but he's not. What I do, they consider like a skilled position, and his is basically unskilled. He kind of does a couple different things. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't. I worked at UPS in college, and it was kind of like that. You didn't get up. You didn't leave unloaded trucks. You didn't leave your truck and wander around and go to the bathroom. I mean, it was a big deal if you had to leave your truck. You unloaded trucks until the bell rang, and then you went to break, and then when the bell rang, you went back to your station or to wherever
I
you're
didn't
working?
mind the physicality of what I encountered in UPS until they had me sorting stuff. If they had left me to just uh, tote and toss, I would have been fine. But when stuff started whizzing down the line where I was supposed to start sending it into different areas based on color coding,
Oh, yeah. Well,
I was sunk, and it's like and
did they?
I was ankle deep in the things. It was like the Lucy show where she's trying to keep up with the chocolates, and
Did they?
it was pretty intense, and it was a lot of stress. But
Yeah. Did they say, "Are you colorblind?" You said, "Well, yeah, I am."
I didn't. There was nobody around that I could talk to.
Oh, did they?
I just wandered off. I just said that's it.
You
I just
wandered off.
yeah. I just said that's it. I wandered by one guy. He was curious and wanted to know if I'd had it, and I said yeah. And so I
Where
just
was this here?
this was at UPS on during Christmas. About how many years ago was that now? It's probably been almost 6 years ago. And
But it was here.
yeah, I was here. Oh yeah, it's the only place I've ever tried to do that kind of work. It's rough.
Uh,
Anybody that can do it. Every time I get that little package from Amazon, I think to myself, someone has gone through hell for me to get this, and I believe
yes.
that. Yeah.
Well, I worked at you. I enjoyed it okay, but it was I unloaded trucks, and I mean,
See,
the
I would
thing that
like
I didn't
to
like.
anything physical like that. But they that's where they needed us. See, they were hiring up for just to put warm bodies into the Christmas chaos, and
Oh gosh.
yeah, it was the wrong
Well,
time of year to say, yeah, I'll try UPS.
yeah. Michelle worked at UPS for a couple of years, and she was in management. And man, you think they work hourly employees? Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
the management. I mean, like on snow days, she was expected to deliver packages in her personal vehicle during snow days to
oh
help out
man,
the driver. And I was like, she's like, "Oh yeah, I gotta go deliver pack." She called me. I gotta go deliver package. I go, "What? Wait, it's snowing. You would? Oh no, that's what If you're in management, you got to do that." And
yeesh.
the, and like at Christmas, she had all the managers got a peak assignment, and so she would work from she let's see, she would go in at noon. She'd go in at noon and she was in plant engineering. So she'd go in and do her plant engineering stuff. And then she would work until about 3 or 4, I think, something like that. She'd work till early evening. Then she would go to her peak assignment. And her peak assignment, the 2 years she worked at UPS, was she ran their car wash. Now, that all the trucks that came in, they washed, no matter what the weather was like. And so she was out in the cold. She got frostbite in her toes one year. I
Wow.
mean, it was, and she would do that until about 3 in the morning. Then she would come home and then get up the next day and do it all over again. It was horrible. I never saw her during Christmas. And that was from Thanksgiving until I think Christmas Eve. You know, it's just like when she quit, and if she loved it, that'd be one thing. But man, they just rode
I
like
bet
when I
you.
was there. Yeah,
Yeah.
when I was there, um, I was an unloader, so I unloaded trucks, and the truck would come in, or we would get we had production quotas, right?
Right.
And so you had to do so many an hour. I forget what it was, but they would rank. You were in a group of employees, your crew or whatever, and they would rank all the crews, and you didn't want crew. You never want your crew to be last, because if your crew is last, then you always had a little meeting and they talk about, okay, the crew did this, we were ranked, and they tell you what was ranked, and then they would tell you what you individually did in front of everybody. So if the crew did bad, there was peer pressure to do better that night.
Sure.
You know, and like they would like the I forget what they called him, but this shift guy, the crew leader, would come in the back of your truck and he'd be like, "Come on, come on," you know, the whole, "Come on, come on, come on, come on."
Yeah, he's the pusher. He's the pusher. Yeah, gotta.
And it's like the guy at the end of the boat banging on the drum, telling you to row faster.
Yeah.
And you know, that's what he did. And then, but he'd come in there and he'd do that, and you go, "Well, how am I doing?" He'd be like, "Oh, you gotta go faster, come on." And then like the next thing you find out, holy cow, I did, you know, if you had to do 1,300 boxes, you'd average like 2,000. Meanwhile, he's in there telling you, "You gotta go faster, come on, come on, come on, come on."
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. That whole concept of putting you up to the edge and then just cracking the whip still, you know, that does annoy a guy, or it annoys me anyway. I never have liked that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, but like when Michelle worked there, I mean, she got paid very well, and like,
yeah, that's a big plus. I mean, if you get paid, I mean, if you can take certain levels of abuse if you're paid well.
Right. Well, she just at some point she had enough, and she quit. And when she quit, I mean, she took a salary cut, but she was like, "Hey, man, it's worth it." And I was like, "Okay, yeah." You know, I mean,
she became she still was a professional. She was a.
Oh yeah, trust me.
An engineer or whatever. How did she manage to get the engineering? Was she an engineer before?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Michelle's has pretty good employment history, you know, put that way. But yeah, that was the deal. Is she just finally found a job, and she's like, I think she took like she took a pretty significant pay cut, but she makes more than that she made now. So, and a lot of the stuff like her insurance was really good, and I was on her insurance, and it was, for me to be on her insurance as her spouse, I think I paid $50 a year. It was crazy insane. Hers was free. You know.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that was a big part of her salary. Yeah.
Yeah, and she got real good bonuses. She got a pension. I mean, she worked there for like 2 years, and she got enough of a pension that when she retires, just from the UPS thing, I think she'll make like $400 a month or something like that. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you know, they paid well. They just made it off you, though.
Well, they're out there working for us tonight. You know that. I drive by that.
Oh yeah.
I drive by that Amazon outfit over there on Portland every day. I'm going to my walk every day.
Oh yeah.
And I think about what's going on inside there.
Lots of stuff.
Yep.
Lots of stuff, man.
I got my stuff in there. Let me have it.
So, have you been keeping up with the John Byrne online comic?
The John Byrne? Oh, no, I haven't been tapping into that probably as much as I ought to. After you acquainted me with it.
Puts a new page up every day, man.
He does put a new page up every day. I guess I am a little ignorant on navigation on it. I probably wouldn't find the daily stuff on my phone.
Go to his forum and go to the main page, and on the lower right side there's a button called Fan Fiction.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I managed to download a couple of pages for myself. I managed to find my way to the art, but I just wasn't sure I was right on top of how the flow of it all works.
Oh yeah, it is kind of weird because he makes a new topic for each issue.
That's what I think where I would suffer as far as navigating.
But yeah, man, it's pretty cool. I'm really digging it. But I mean, I'm a big John Byrne fan too. I know that ain't really your thing.
Yeah, I got that book on Perspective you were going to loan me. It arrived in the mail. Comes think about Amazon Prime, and it was a used one, and it's fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to read it, but I've gotten on a kick right now where I'm rereading a few of the Charles Willeford books I've got laying around. And,
oh yeah.
I stuck one on the interlibrary loan, and hopefully that shows up fairly soon. He's just a writer that, he's one of these guys that the moment you tap into, did you ever start on the cowboy book? What's it called? The Sisters Brothers. Did you ever get started on that?
Oh, I got that from the library yet.
Oh, it hadn't come from it?
No, I don't know why.
Because I just got his second book, or second big book, called Under Major Domo, or something like that. Under Major Domo Minor. I'm not sure where he was going with that title, but it's I think that's the name of it.
Well, the Major Domo is a rank in the British Army, isn't it?
Yeah, well what would Under Major Domo Minor be?
Well, maybe that was his last name.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah, he may be playing tricks again like he did with the Sisters Brothers.
Yeah, exactly. So what'd you work on today?
Well, I worked on this, and right now I'm making a big mess. I think it's just because my ergonomics are so screwy on on this that I'm not backing off far enough from it to do it right, or I'm getting in too close to it. I don't know. It's I like this area back in here. I've got this big monster coming up underneath a fire escape. Kind of like the way that's going. But I'm getting to, I'm losing myself a little bit here on. Now this. Okay.
Zoom out.
Okay. It's auto saving. There we go.
Oh.
There it is.
First.
Can you see it? See if I can take some glare off of it one way or the other.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot of fun because what it is it's a failure on my part to do traditional comic books. I cannot do pretty inks, and it's kind of funny to all of a sudden realize to yourself, here you're just now telling yourself that, and yet it's been staring you in the face for ages that the way you like to draw, you'll never be a fan favorite, but you do like to draw. And you can get a little bit of this and a little bit of that done when you draw. You've actually had artists that you respect tell you can draw. So do that. And that's all I'm doing anymore. It's just I'm saying, this is what I've been putting on Tumblr. and that's exactly the kind of art I will be producing for my comics. Is the kind of big mess that is not going to win me any fans, but it's going to accomplish storytelling. So if I get fans for the stories, we'll just overlook the fact that I didn't become Frank Frazetta.
Yeah. Well, who does?
Yeah, exactly.
Only one Frank
or Bernie Wrightson or any of these guys that I was showing up on that show. Yeah, and this is, the long, hard road of this realization. A lot of it was on being on that drawn and quartered. It's like
Oh
I,
yeah.
I was watching these guys do things in with like 2 hours to work on it. That was just killer, you know. And it's like I was
Uh,
struggling to try to create what I thought was the minimum standard. And I realized that what I was thinking is the standard of that line art. I don't have that in me. I cannot produce line art. All I can do is a kind of a bogus kind of marker type of painting that gets it over. I can also do sketchiness, but again, I'm using that term uh, fan favorite. And not being a fan favorite, that means a lot of the stuff that you would ordinarily think about for your art just goes out the window. You aren't going to be the guy making a ton of money on what do you call it, direct sales, or not direct sales.
oh,
What do you call it, Indiegogo's and stuff like that.
oh yeah.
That,
Well,
that that's not going to be your thing.
I'm gonna disagree with you a couple. I'm gonna say a couple things about what you're saying.
Okay,
Um,
go ahead.
I get
Because
what you're saying.
this is me having revelations about myself. So go ahead and change them.
Well, no. I agree with you, and at a standpoint that you excel most at rougher artwork. You're
Yeah,
good. You're a good guy. Um, you're good at poses. You're good at that sort of thing. But yeah, you're not. Your art is not polished.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And it's not
and
going to be at this point at age 66.
that
It's not going to be.
well, you could work on it.
Well, yeah, I
I mean,
could.
I thought that, but here's the thing. Here's the okay. So like I took that comics experience class about drawing comics, and that was one of my questions. Was a lot about style because that's kind of what you're talking about to a point.
To an extent, I am arriving at something that, thank God for this iPad. It's making me realize that, hey, drop all this 11 by 17 notions about doing your originals. Just get an image. That's all you're after. You're just after an image. You're after something in service to a story. That's all you're doing. You know.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But I would take a guy like Frank Miller, who Frank Miller is not a guy that would be a fan favorite artist, and certainly not in his current style. No, I could see maybe the Daredevil stuff being popular or whatever, but but he's embraced that and he's owned that and he's developed that, and I think you could do that. You'd have to. Depending on what you
Maybe. I
want to
mean,
do.
yeah. I mean, it's not like the guy doesn't. Right now, I'm doing almost a page a day now, and that leads you places. I mean, to where if you're doing something
Absolutely.
you're enjoying every day, you will morph into different states as you go. You know, you will get a little better at it. And right
So in
now,
the
like I
comic,
say, what? Go ahead.
oh well, what I was going to say is when in the conversations that we had about style in the comics experience, what I was told by the instructor was that, like, and I'm talking about comics, I'm talking about comic styles, but I think it applies, or some of it applies to what you're talking about. If you want to be, if his thing was, if you want to work in comics, there's two ways to do it. There's two ways for an artist to get work in comics, as it pertains to this conversation. And what it is you can either develop your own style or you can emulate somebody else's style. Now, everyone will tell you you got to develop your own style. He disagreed with that though because his thing was, hey, their editors are always looking for somebody that can draw like an established style.
Oh yeah, sure.
And
No, yeah, you're
what
right.
so what he suggested was try, and you and I have talked about this, try and figure out, if you want to work at Marvel, what is popular at Marvel, and that's how you need to draw,
Sure.
And
No,
so
if you want.
he had files and files on the computer, digital files, these artists that were currently working on Marvel books, and he would break down their style and say, what are they doing? What can I steal from their style?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm trying to do. But I'm looking at this John Byrne stuff, but I'm also looking at a lot of Bronze Age art, because that's versus what's Marvel doing now or whatever. Mine is, what do I want my art to look like? And I really like what was going on in the Bronze Age, the John Byrne, the Russ Andrew, some of that kind of stuff.
Sure.
John Buscema. And so what I'm trying to do is make mine the best Bronze Age style art that I can make it.
No, that's as good a stylistic direction as anybody could have. I'm going toward what I want my stuff to be is something that is a little simpler and a little more moving toward, and this is too much like a painting that I'm doing right now. And I don't mind it being a little bit like a painting, but I want it more like a great smart decisions like a Darwin Cook did with his Parker stuff. So someone would see what I'm doing right now and laugh at the idea, but it's not too far from what I'm doing here in terms of like I'm more like I'm slapping down stuff that is still simple. It's not too far removed from coming along and reinforcing a couple of color blobs, islands of focus with just a little bit of line work, which is what I want to do. I don't want to draw big detailed cityscapes. I may never draw a detailed cityscape as long as I live, as far as I know. Especially if I'm writing the stories, if I decide what goes where. Our friend PunkHiro, James, he sent me a script. I don't know if he was drunk or something, but he said he even sent it to me with saying, "I already know the answer," acting like he wanted me to be the artist on it. So I told him, I'm not going to be doing anything but personal projects more than likely for the rest of my life, and I haven't read the script yet. I've cut it and pasted it, but apparently it was something he had all hooked up. Well, I shouldn't tell too many tales out of school, but it was something he hoped to work with Linnea Quigley on, I think. The girl from the Dead, Return of the Dead, or Revenge of the Dead. The one with Dan O'Bannon, I think he directed it.
Okay. I haven't seen it, but...
Okay, yeah. It's a good movie. It's one of the best of all the zombie movies that were ever made. It's a lot more. Gotcha. It's very fun. James Karen, Lou Gallagher.
Sorry, I got to stand up.
We need breaks here, don't we?
Oh, I'm good. You need a break? You take a break.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, I've recently had a deep pain in my deltoid, and I figured out it comes from reaching across and putting stuff under the seat and reaching for the car lock on the other side of the car while I'm out at the extreme angle of using the shoulder. And just that little bit of extra distortion of that muscle has finally given me a little bit of an extra bit of pain I don't want to have. So now that I've known that, I'm starting to bring my body over to it. a little farther and stuff like that. And it's weird because I got a real intense stab of the pain when I duplicated that move, and so that told me where it was coming from.
I know what did that.
Yeah.
I've done that. I've done that by grabbing my backpack, reaching for my backpack in the back seat.
Yeah. So you've had this pain, okay?
Yeah.
No, it's a real thing. I mean, a guy having to deal with giving himself a sport injury from something that is just a real minor physical thing.
Well, and my problem is I take a backpack to work with me every day, and I put way too much crap in it.
Yeah, it's no more implausible than, giving yourself a, that mouse injury. What do they call that?
Carpal tunnel.
Yeah, carpal tunnel.
Oh, yeah. Well, and if anybody listening is an artist or whatever, you got to do hand stretch. Do you do hand stretches, Ellis?
No, but I get up and break pine boards on a regular basis. I'm just kidding.
Oh, that'll probably do it. That'll probably do it. How many boards can you break?
Oh, I'm up to I'm up to several now. Actually, I am doing a little bit of a little exercise that could lead me to being pretty good at side kicks. Just extending the leg straight out. I'm trying to get around ever doing what I did to that. I can't think of the muscle now. The back of the leg muscle.
Oh, hamstring.
The hamstring. Boy, I tell you what, you rip one of those one day. That's a lot of fun.
No, I'll pass on that. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, you know what I did this weekend? I was
What's
picking,
that?
I have a bag, a standing bag in my entryway that I kick, and I'd done 30 minutes on the elliptical, and so I thought I'd kick the bag a little bit.
Yeah.
And I punched it. Decided I should do some kicks. Reared back and did a side kick, and caught my toe on the entry hall closet door,
Mm-hmm.
and just ripped about half my toenail off.
Oh boy!
And I think I my big toenail took some damage, and my index toe, if that's what it's called, the next one, it turned purple on top, and it hurt. The bottom of my foot hurts. I think I jammed that, into the joint that goes into the bottom of your foot.
Jams really hurt. They hurt about as bad as breaking it.
I may have broke it. I'm not for sure, but I don't know. But yeah, I was hobbling around all weekend. It was Monday was real bad. When we went to Arkansas and I drove back, and so driving out there, Michelle drove, and so I could rest. But coming back, man, 5-6 hour drive was killing.
Yeah, those injuries. That's what I. The fear that goes into being one of these mixed martial artists. Those guys train so hard, and then they go out to face off against each other when all they've been doing is sparring around with with people that are not trying to hurt them, so that they're in shape by the time the fight rolls around. And then you go out, and the whole purpose of being out there is to basically be in the equivalent of a car wreck in terms of like getting injured, Yeah. And it's like, ooh, that'd be scary to deal with, especially when you're talking about, and I experienced this when I went to my only jiu-jitsu competition that I went to. I've been to one karate competition, and you think I would have learned from going to that, and I've been to one jiu-jitsu competition. And the thing that occurs to you when you show up at a competition where it's not the guys you're used to rolling around with or sparring with is that, look at this, they've gone through and selectively picked out all the really tough guys, and here they're thrusting them at me. And that's what you're aware of. It's like there has been a culling that has gone on that I don't want any part of. There's all these tough guys here, and but you want to try yourself every now and then, and that's what it's for. You want to see how much you've learned or whatever. And
I mean, it's just like hurting my foot. I mean, I think I broke my toe that one time kicking. I'm not gonna stop. I mean, it hurt.
no,
But
no,
it didn't
no,
kill
no, no. It's worthwhile to do martial arts because it's
me.
the mental part of martial arts is the important part. Is the
Oh my gosh, yeah. And it's so much fun. I mean, I enjoy it, even getting hurt. And I just the practice and the confidence you get. I mean, it's funny you say it because I'm gonna do a podcast. I haven't done my podcast this week. I'm behind, and I think I'm gonna do it on martial arts. And that's what the one thing I'm gonna talk about is why would you do this? What do you even get out of this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's different, I think, than a lot of other things because there is such a mental aspect to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I like is when I started it, I did it because I thought it would help my posture, and I think it has, and I think it's helped my balance a lot.
Oh
And
yeah.
what I is when I first started, I felt so clumsy, like moving my feet and stuff, and getting my feet in the right spot. And a lot of that, I feel like I've made great strides in. But it gives you a lot of confidence. It gives you, um, it's yeah. It's beyond just whatever kind of belt or whatever breaking boards and stuff that you get out of it. I think it's a great. I wish I'd done it when I was younger.
Yeah.
As a kid. I wish my parents had put me into that instead of me doing all that nerdy stuff like reading comics.
Yeah.
No. It wasn't when I was a kid. It wasn't really around the town where I lived. I mean, I knew people that were in it, but I think I really would have enjoyed it as a kid. No, you know what? I would have hated going to practice. Always hated
Well,
practice.
anything that required discipline. It's interesting how many things I chose to do. Well, it's like everyone wants to morph into something better in as quickly as they can when you're an awkward kid. You don't want to be an awkward kid. You want to be a cool dude,
Yeah, but
and
that applies to.
Yeah, it applies to anything.
I mean, I think adults want. I mean, you want to. It's just like drawing. You want to be like this great artist. But it
Instantly,
takes.
yeah.
People think. They'll. I mean, I talk to people all the time, and they'll be like, "Oh, you're so talented," or you're this great artist, and the implication is that it was easy. That I was born being, and it's not. Even this is. It's still a struggle. I practice
Oh yeah.
a lot.
The struggle is real.
Struggle is real. I was listening to a podcast the other day. It was a role playing game podcast. It wasn't Dungeons and Dragons. It was like Dungeons. It's similar to Dungeons and Dragons. And the guy was the group had gone to the dungeon and they'd fought these enemies and so they were basically bumped down for the night. And one of the guys that plays a fighter was doing this routine with his sword and his shield, and it's kind of a fighting routine or whatever. Just doing it over. There's a drill, doing it over and over and over. And the player made the comment of, it's not the magic and it's not the sword, it's the fundamentals.
The fundamentals are what separate the masters. That's all you have to pay attention to. Once someone tells you the 10 things you always have to do right, the guy that what's that sushi guy?
Oh yeah, dreams of sushi.
Yeah. So and so dreams of sushi. That's all that is.
Yeah.
And yet that guy has got people that they're flying in to eat his what he does.
Oh yeah, a little bitty sushi shop that's like seats 10 people in it. Yeah, that's, if anybody's listening to this, that's a great movie.
Great little documentary and a great little lesson in life. Yeah.
Lesson, do find something you love and do it well.
Yep. And
and you'll be.
Don't
yeah,
be
they always would say if you do it well, you'll be rewarded or whatever. Even if you're not rewarded, if you find something that you enjoy and you do it well, there's satisfaction in a job well done. Goes almost beyond any kind of monetary reward.
Yeah, but it will no doubt follow that you do. It will follow. I mean, if you get really good at something, you have to be dodging the money, basically. Yeah. Get really good at something.
So
when we're talking about independent publishing and stuff, the guy that is just like at the top of the heap in my mind is this Jason Brubaker, who he's the guy kind of like leading the way in terms of like how you get a YouTube going and all that, and cultivating an audience. And he does, and he's also just a fantastic artist that walked away from doing storyboards, which are highly lucrative, but also wasn't what he wanted to be doing. Jason Brubaker. Oh, yeah. And he's written some great books about publishing and being creative. I think the big one is Unnatural Talent. And he's got a great show he regularly puts on YouTube. But his most recent video is of his books arriving. I couldn't believe how many pallets of his book he got off of the truck. It was a huge truck for the first, in the first place. It was just like, well, you don't have, that thing's not full of books, but it sure was. Got 7 pallets out of that truck. And they're stacked man high. And it's like, whoa, man, you're going to lick that many stamps? And it's like, that's going to be a tough way to live for a while. But then, what's that? Yeah. He's one of these guys that always goes the Indiegogo Kickstarter kind of way in terms of where he gets his money. And but he was having to tell his loyal followers, sorry, but I've had a mishap that I just can't in good conscience send these out. And he was explaining this printing error, and not only is it a printing error, but it went on with a China printer. So backing up and redoing all that when it's got to come from China, in terms of like everybody agrees that they've made the mistake and they've got to eat it. And it's like, that just shows you probably ought to try, if you can, going with American publishing, so you can.
Hey, I deal with at my day job. We have a relationship with a factory in China. I mean, I know the owner of the factory.
Uh-huh.
I email him. I could call him if I chose to. I don't want to, but so we have a good working relationship with a Chinese factory.
Yeah.
But yet still run into issues. Sometimes it's translation errors. Sometimes it's very few people in the factory speak English, so the art is critical that everything is all spelled out. But even beyond that, we run for those who don't know, I work for a company that makes awards, like trophies and medals and stuff. And I run our tool and die shop, which is what the department that makes all the medallions, and we do challenge coins and that sort of thing. So we infrequently, but we have been known to have stuff get stopped in customs. And so there was a guy that was putting something together, and they were talking about, well, are we going to do it domestically or import it? And so I was talking to him, and I said, well, what's the difference in price? And he said, oh, it's I think he said it was 30 cents a piece or something, but it was something they may order 100,000 pieces, so it's a lot of money. But I said, hey man, the good thing is if we do it here, it ain't gonna get stuck in customs. If there's a problem, we can fix it. There's more. You have more options to make it right if it's done here.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. But man,
yeah, I mean, it must seem very appealing to look at the little bit of savings here or there and say, yeah, let's go international, and then you've got you got a truck that backs up with a couple thousand books you can't ship out.
Yeah, not in good conscience.
Yeah.
The and the other thing is that nobody knows about, or people don't talk about this, but the Chinese New Year is coming up. It's like the end of January, and you can't get anything out of China that whole month.
Huh.
It takes because everybody goes back to their hometown, and so all of the public transit is the trains and everything are all jacked up, and so the New Year's like 2 weeks, but everybody leaves a week early, and it takes them a week to come back. So literally, like we can't get anything out of China for like a month.
I bet you Jason Brubaker doesn't know this. God.
He may not. Well, if he gets stuff from China, he knows it.
Yeah, probably so.
It's everything. But it's funny that we're talking about this because I don't know if I told you, but a few weeks ago I felt like I was forgetting how to draw.
Yeah, well, that happens.
I just went through this phase where it's like, and
I had Gil Kane tell me that that's common for artists to feel like they've forgotten how to draw.
Oh God, yeah. It's like nothing. I felt like nothing I drew was coming out right. But this has happened before, and it always makes me kind of, oh gosh. But what's funny is when I come through, I'm always like, man, everything looks better now. It's immediately followed up with a period of going, wow, it's like a jump in my art happens. And I'd seen a diagram that somebody made where they said that your art would get your knowledge would get better before you could physically do it. And so there was that gap where you look at your stuff and go, well, this looks wrong, because you were learning in your head, you knew what to do, but your hand hadn't gotten there.
Well, that's where my inking skills, like I was never going to be happy to sit down and work for hours at something that was as shoddy as what I was getting. I had a period where I thought I was a pretty good inker, and I had the Winsor Newton Series 7 number 3, and I thought I was pretty slick with it for a while, and did do things with it, but it's not something that I continued to do. And so you don't really can that kind of talent. You either stay on top of it, or it'd be like expecting to go out and lead a football team down to victory after you've ignored practice, for years and years and years. And that's what I did. And I just thought I could always do it, because I was always reinforcing the idea that I could still draw by doodling all the time. And it's like, oh, well, I understand how to do this and that. But what I didn't understand was that facility is only going to come from like just daily hammering at it. And if you really want it, you will treat it like, any sort of sport ability. You will return to it and return to it and return to it. you will be disciplined.
Well, it's like there's a reason that the Thunder has a practice facility, and if
Yeah.
you ever see footage of them practice, they're practicing free throws, they're practicing 3-point
Oh yeah.
shots. It's the fundamentals, and you stay on top of that stuff.
Yeah. And what do you call that when you're when you're in the zone? A guy that's a very real thing of being having that mindset of well, not mindset, the physicality of keep both. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and inking, I think, especially inking with a brush, is a very muscle memory kind of.
Yes, yeah, it is muscle memory, a lot of it.
And you gotta stay on top of that for sure. I think at least.
Where do I get the feed? Oh, here we are. We have been at this an hour and 10 minutes. You ready to wrap it up? Let me see what you've got going there. Look at that. You've got a big crowd scene going. Wow. Did you do that whole crowd scene today?
Yeah. This. Hang on just a second.
Traced up?
Oh. Yeah. Let me.
What did I do there? Close my. Yeah. Very cool. Look at that. Nice job.
Yeah.
Nice posing.
I drew the figures, and then this is after the angels are counselors at this camp, and they realize that all the other counselors are
you're not really centering it up as well as you could for bring it down a little lower. There you go. Now we can see it a little better.
Yeah. And so in the background, you can't see it here. I've got my perspective grid.
Oh yeah.
Back there. Yeah, see, I did. This is like what we were talking about.
Yeah, having that grid.
I got the grid.
Yeah, you got more than enough information there.
Yeah, see, that's my thumbnails, and then I did a grid in Photoshop, and I just threw it on there before I printed. This is obviously printed on the back of my page, and then I lightbox it through. It's kind of
looking good. Looking good. Your line weights are much better. Yeah, I mean this is really looking good. Yeah, I tell you what. I mean you just gotta have the scales fall off your eyes on a couple of this and that's about what you're up to, But now you gotta ink it yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Unless you're willing to dig out the Winsor Newtons and help me.
I've spent most of this hour talking about what a calamity my inking is. Yeah.
Well, I'm inking myself. Here's the thing. I'm doing this book. It's taken me forever because I'm inking it, and I'm not the fastest inker in the world. I think my pencils are pretty decent speed actually. But I want it to look the way I want it to look, and I haven't found if I had an inker that could do it, that I thought it would come out how I wanted it to look, then I'd go with it. But for now, I'm doing it myself. I'm not. There's no reason for me to hurry.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Because I'm doing this. I got a publisher. I've got a day job, so it's not like I'm doing it to live off of. So, might as well make it look good. I mean,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it is just for you mostly. In comics, that's the way of it. It's like it's just almost a perverse kind of itch of like, what can I waste a whole lot of time on that pays me next to nothing, that still satisfies me for some weird reason, But that is comics. I mean, it's like you just. Sure. So, you ready to log off? Do you want to say anything about your podcast coming up? Tell everybody where they find that.
Yeah,
everybody.
I have a weekly podcast called Scott at Midnight. I just talk about whatever interests me. It's just me talking. Usually it's between 15 and 30 minutes. The subjects are all over the map. I'm on two other podcasts. One of them with Ellis. We'll review movies called Classic Cinema Podcast. And then I'm on one with two other guys called Better Than Fiction. The podcast by myself I do just because I want to talk about stuff that I want to talk about that I don't have to fit in the parameters of the other two podcasts.
Yeah.
I got a website, scottsackett.org. If you want to check it out, there's some work on there. I haven't updated it in a while. The big thing is doing this work. I'm on Instagram. I'm at Scott Sackett. That's probably the place where I post art the most anymore. Even though I'm thinking about firing up my blog and going more blog and less Instagram.
Blogs, it'd be weird if this whole social media thing circles back around to blogs, because I think Google and our masters are just starting to irritate all of us so much that Google and Twitter, it's like we may find a way to link blogs up in as gratifying a way as we find with Twitter and Facebook, and we'd probably be better off if we could figure out how to bridge it.
I had a blog. And for a long time I was strictly blog, and I would do these very long blog posts where I reviewed movies and talked about stuff, and I really enjoyed it. But it seems that, then it went to Tumblr, and I was on Tumblr, which I didn't enjoy that much. And then Instagram, when I got a smartphone, Instagram seemed the way to go.
The appeal is the built-in large audiences were, and Facebook was a great partner in terms of like finding people. They were saying, hey, would you like a private detective working for you? Find that guy you used to know. And they would do that for you, Well, let's... Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, it's funny we're talking about this because I checked a book out just today about blogging, and it's one of those how to start a business blogging kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
that used to be a business model. You supposedly could make a living blogging. Yeah.
And the intro to one of them said there were 1.3 billion people on Blogger, and I wonder if it's still that.
Blogspot. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't eliminated a single one of mine. It just drives me crazy. I accidentally deleted the one where I downloaded all of Von Bode's Dead Bone Erotica, and I tried to get it back, but I just pushed the wrong button. It was the thing that, grandmas are always afraid they're going to do, and I did it. I pushed the wrong button.
Oh, it happens.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're not president with the atomic football.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, Scott, good talking to you. We'll see you soon. Who knows when?
It was good talking to you.
Next Wednesday at least,
see.
Huh?
Maybe next week I'll be sequestered with jury duty and won't be able to talk, but if we talk next week, I'll tell you all about jury duty.
Okay, take it easy.
You can't wait.
Okay, I'm in broadcast right now.
Okay.
And now I'm leaving the studio.